Coming up on today's wrestling news, WWE are using media outlets to bury Stephanie McMahon.
Judgment Day was almost a lot spookier.
Toni Storm shoots on her WWE exit.
And a main roster star returns to NXT.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Phil Chambers.
And this is the news. Let's dive straight into it then with that amazing story about WWE apparently using media outlets to bury the boss's daughter. Yep, that's what we're starting with today. So we've been talking about this for the last few weeks, of course, ever since Stephanie McMahon announced she was going to be taking a leave of absence, spend time with her family. All that seemed relatively straightforward, especially with the issues that's been going on with Triple H. Now, though, reports from Dave Meltzer on the latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio state that WWE, yes, are using the media outlets to bury her and her role as Chief Brand Officer in WWE. There was a recent Business Insider article on her situation planted by WWE to completely undermine her. Basically saying that she didn't actually take a leave of absence. What actually happened was Vince McMahon fired his own daughter for poor performance in her role, which obviously contradicts all the previous reports we have seen, we have read, and yet somehow, despite the fact, Phil Chambers, again, the boss is burying his own daughter secretly through the media. I'm not surprised by this whatsoever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, as much as you can say, oh, but they're family, it's still business, and Vince McMahon loves business.
Oh, he loves it more than family.
He loves it way more than family. It's an odd one, though, because, like, Stephanie as well, of all people, like, the way she was brought up in the business was, like, he made her go and do a little bit of absolutely everything within the company, so she has, like,
ruin
such a
the
broad
writing department.
Yeah, so she has a broad knowledge of everything and can just ruin everything that she touches, apparently. And now she's got this high up, and she's ruining that too, I guess?
Yeah, I always thought relatively she'd be safe compared to, say, Shane.
Yes.
Because, I mean, just look at his birthday message to him to see how much he feels about his own son. But this is astonishing. Like, this didn't need to happen. This wasn't like Steph left and we all like, why is Steph gone?
Yeah.
Triple H had the cardiac event. Triple H retired from wrestling. He now has obviously returned to working within the company. But that is a serious life event.
Yeah.
And it would make sense that anyone would think, you know what? Life comes at you fast. I'm going to take some time off and just spend it with my family. And we always said that she was going to be coming back into this role, and WWE were holding this role for when she comes back. Now, apparently, she's crap at her job, and Vince fired her.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I think, like, the interesting thing now, I guess, will be where they go from here if Stephanie does come back.
Yeah.
Like, are they just going to put her in a completely different position?
Don't put her on TV.
Don't put her on TV.
Please.
Whatever you do. Like, is she going to come back? Is, like, will this sour her relationship with WWE in general? There's a lot of questions here.
She doesn't have to come back. She's fine.
Oh yeah, she's absolutely fine. She's very much set for life, but still, she's still got McMahon at the end of her name, and they all come back eventually.
Yes, but now you need to have the word Khan at the end of your name, and not the AEW one, the other one, because Nick Khan is just...
true, he's the only one. Although Triple H is back in a sort of executive role now, isn't he?
Yeah, so apparently.
I don't know what's going on.
We'll bring you more on this story as it develops.
As Tony
and no doubt it will.
More jobs away from
Yes.
But yeah, speaking of WWE, Judgment Day.
The Judgment
Day, sorry, WWE. It was almost a lot spookier, apparently. So this is coming from Fightful Select. Apparently WWE wanted Judgment Day to go all supernatural. I assume to fill the big gaping spooky hole that the Fiend left behind.
Oh, I miss him so much.
But this only didn't happen because Edge didn't want it to happen.
Thank goodness
basically.
for Edge.
But I guess this kind of, like on a wild speculation hat, kind of makes sense a little bit of Judgment Day. If WWE wanted to push them down the supernatural route, but Edge didn't, you can see there being like a battle of wills to see how this comes off, and that's why it never really had a proper sense of direction or anything like that.
What's wrong with just a gaggle of bastards, Phil?
I know.
What's wrong with that? Like,
Edge would be great running a gaggle of bastards.
I feel bad now because I've badmouthed Edge, I mean, for understandably awful promos.
64 days.
In my opinion, as part of the Judgment Day. But I get it. Every performer, whenever we bury them, you should always understand that we're not burying them directly, we're burying what they've been given.
Yes.
And even someone like Edge can't get this sheeple bollocks over, basically.
Yeah.
And like you say, there've been weird sort of mixed messages of how they talk to people and the reasoning behind why they came together. Why can't they just be a load of gits who just
Would be
thought,
much
let's be
easier.
gits together.
I really hope that's where they go now. And now,
Yes.
because obviously Edge has a lot more sway, you would imagine, behind the scenes in WWE than a Finn Balor would. And if Finn Balor's now in that position in Judgment Day, whether he can say no to the spooky bollocks that WWE might want to push at him, but also, I mean, he's got the demon thing. You never know where they're going to go with this from now on.
I'm not against him.
Let him be a bastard.
I'm not against him bringing out the demon occasionally, but what is it with wrestling companies? Not even just WWE. AEW's been guilty of this as well, and certainly Impact Wrestling has done stuff like this without a question of that. But what is it with this supernatural stuff? Like, I've never seen there's an adoration out there for the Fiend, but in terms of moving the needle and stuff like that, and attracting casual fans by getting an audience on side. It's never seemed to hit the mark for me. I get that there's...
It worked in the 90s with The Undertaker, and they've been chasing that dragon ever since.
That's it, man. That's it. Like, we don't need it. The House of Black can just be again, a load of knobheads.
Yeah.
But that like to wear
metal.
antlers. And listen to metal.
Metalhead knobheads, and that'd be fine.
That was the original name for the group, apparently. But I really hope, my concern is now, like you say, is, because I really liked the twist that we saw on Raw. I know it's been quite divisive, but I think Finn Balor, heel Finn Balor, leading this, I was going to say young stable, Davey Priest in it, but you know what I mean, these up-and-comers within WWE, makes sense. And the swerve of having them attack Edge after, 60-odd days?
64 days,
is unexpected, or earlier than expected, but gives them a new impetus. And I thought that I was a bit like, especially because of all the boring promos they cut. Whatever happens now, I really hope that the lack of Edge doesn't mean that they can finally do supernatural. Just have them kick
keep
ass.
it simple. Keep it simple and let Finn Balor be a knobhead.
Yeah.
He's really good at being a knobhead.
See Bullet Club that you've been trying to sort of for quite some time now. It's really easy. Anyway, there's a question about them when we come to the Twitter questions in a while, so we'll circle back to that. Let's talk a little bit about Toni Storm. She's been on a brilliant podcast, one of the best podcasts out there that isn't ours. The Sessions with Renee Paquette, and she's talking all about her WWE time and her WWE exit. There is so much to take from this. You can read loads more excerpts from this at WhatCulture.com, a great write-up by our very own Andy Murray, who's off on holiday at the end of today. Have an amazing time, mate. Please don't get COVID in the next 24 hours. That would suck. Anyway, so she was called up, obviously, from NXT to SmackDown in July of last year. And she told Paquette that Raw or SmackDown had always been her goal. But it didn't take her long to realise, this isn't going to work out. And main roster life, I mean, how many times have we heard this from someone? Main roster life made her miserable. She also goes into detail about roster cuts, saying, someone could be fired every other week. It was just so random and terrifying, presumably, to be in that locker room. She also said she wasn't actually upset with her WWE booking, despite all of the evidence. But I thought this was a really interesting quote from her. She said, "It was a complicated ordeal. I had built up frustrations with the place for a very long time, like a lot of people do. They don't give a shiz, so why should I? This isn't going to work. I know what's going to happen here. I'm just going to be sent back to catering, and I just felt like they, at times, didn't have very much respect for me. I feel like over time, they just crushed my love for wrestling."
There it is.
Depressingly similar, this, isn't it?
How many times have we heard that from someone leaving WWE, that they just don't like wrestling anymore after working there? It's really sad. But you can see it, like Toni Storm getting called up to the main roster. Like your first few pretty much getting to work with Charlotte, like that must have been like, oh, this is amazing. And then, oh, you want me to do what?
We're going to cream pie you. Huh?
What? And what was the original plan? There was something that was even worse than that.
They're going to strip her top off.
Yeah, like strip her down.
What year is it?
Absolutely ludicrous. So yeah, she 100% did the right thing. Obviously for her and her happiness to just get out and move somewhere else.
Astonishing.
But how many times can they hear this story and not do something to fix it?
This is the thing. I hear stories like this and go, well, that's going to have to be the catalyst for change. And yet, we've probably reported on this story every year for the past, 5 years with bloody moves from NXT to the main roster and people we thought, because I thought looking at Toni Storm, not even talking about her in-ring work, physically just looking at her, you go, she'll be all right on the main roster.
Yeah, 100%.
And then in-ring work, obviously,
the package, the clothes and everything, she looks like a star.
She can talk. She's obviously sensational in the ring. And then they go, yeah, but what if you put cream on you? And it was just, it was one of those where.
What if we put cream on you and make you lose?
Yeah, and it was one of those where when she left, you were like, what? But then also like, yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Look, best of luck to her in AEW. fingers crossed someone's going to realise what they've got on their hands eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think AEW's got to be a much better fit for her right now anyway.
I wouldn't hold your breath with that.
Well, yeah,
the way they
that's
book
true.
that women's division.
Well, I'm waiting to say that. But yeah, speaking of moves from NXT to the main roster and vice versa.
Well, flip reverse.
Hey, someone's gone back to NXT.
Apollo!
He's back at NXT, and Bron Breakker came out and he issued like an open challenge. And out comes Apollo Crews with his Apollo music.
Looks much bigger in NXT, doesn't he?
He does look a lot bigger in NXT. But he doesn't have the the King gimmick.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't have
no
the
Commander
Nigerian,
Aziz.
no Nigerian accent anymore.
Good.
Just Apollo. But he seemed very excited by the whole situation. He cut a promo, he was very excited, the fans were chanting, "We miss you," and he was saying how much he misses them as well. And he's saying he's back to make history and he's going to do it with Bron Breakker, and they had a nice little handshake and no word until when that match will be, but it's got to happen at some point. And then later on in the night he came out to tag with Solo Sikoa to beat Carmelo
Really
Hayes
good, that.
and Grayson Waller in the main event. And yeah, he did like a WWE.com like exclusive interview thing afterwards as well, just saying how excited he is to be back in NXT and that people are going to be seeing a lot more of him in NXT. So it seems like it might be maybe a bit more of a permanent position for Apollo than like the Dolph Ziggler thing was maybe. Or whether he's just going to do a couple of months run down there. Whatever it is, I'm all for it. Because they're doing nothing with Apollo on the main roster. He is incredibly talented. He is very, very good. And putting him in with some of the younger guys down in NXT, I think is like a no-brainer in terms of the things that he can teach them.
Especially with them going on the road soon as well.
Yes,
it's only going to be beneficial. I really like this. Like, not a lot of great to say about this. Like, I know NXT has vastly changed since she was last there.
Yes.
But yeah, like you said, he talked about stuff that he missed out on achieving when he was down there. Stuff that he still wants to do. The match in the main event was really enjoyable. More of this sort of thing. This is what they should be doing with NXT. I know it's even more so a developmental brand. So get, like they did initially, get the people that you're not using on the main roster or you're using to chase around the 24/7 championship to come down and be great like this.
Yeah, you can only ever get so good when you're just facing people that are as good as you.
Yes.
You've got to face people much better than you so you can learn from them and pull yourself up. And I don't know why they haven't done this in NXT for a really long time.
Yeah, love this though. Best of luck to him. Very excited to see what they do next with him. Let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from AJ David, who says, "Good morning, gents, and happy Dynamite Day." Happy Dynamite Day to you too, AJ. Who would you put over as the interim champ? I like Phil's Kingston theory, but how about Tanahashi winning, keeping the Punk match alive, while also having a New Japan guy as the champ?
Yeah,
if people haven't heard it, tell us about your Kingston theory.
I'm going to stick with my Kingston theory, although I keep changing it in my mind and I can't decide on what the outcome I want of it. But basically, Eddie Kingston wins the Battle Royale, obviously, goes on to face Jon Moxley, wins that, goes on to face Tanahashi, wins that, he becomes the interim champ. It's like it's finally happened, he's finally reached the top. Except he's not really, has he? He's still got that little asterisk next to his name, and like whenever Punk comes back, you can use that against him so much that you've not won the proper belt. This is the proper belt kind of thing. And then that feud with the promos and the passion that both of those would bring to that, and the things they can use of him still not being the real top of the company would be absolutely incredible. And then I can't decide if either Punk beats him and like smacks down the Dream, which would be incredible in one way, or like Eddie Kingston beats Punk, and then like Punk's reign is basically just to leave and then give it to Eddie Kingston, and then whatever Punk does after that, and Eddie Kingston would be made then forever. And I can't decide which outcome I want more, the sad one or the happy one.
Yes.
Because I kind of like them both.
And even in the happy one, I think you'll agree that it would be not funny.
it'd be short.
But appropriate that like MJF beats him within like a
100%.
month.
If he beats Punk and it's like this massive it's finally it, and then like the next week or something, MJF comes out and beats him, and be incredible.
I genuinely can't call this. It's absolute carnage. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing still, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to have to wait and see what happens on Dynamite tonight, because there's this weird dynamic of like if it's Hangman Page, which Hamlet has suggested, it's really good, but that would mean him fighting twice and then fighting Moxley, because he's got a match already on Dynamite. Then he'd have to win the Battle Royal. Then he'd have to beat Moxley. Moxley looked like a piece of crap. Moxley still looks like a bit of a dickhead if he has to beat someone who's already fought earlier on in the night.
Yeah, even if it's just once in the Battle Royale.
Maybe Tanahashi is the guy. I don't know. I mean, I'm always going to pick Maxwell Jacob Friedman for these sorts of things. Because, obviously. But, yes, it's intriguing, but not necessarily for all the right reasons, I think it's fair to say.
It's definitely been chaos.
It's going to be interesting to see how Tony Khan books this tonight. And Well, we'll give our opinions on it tomorrow, good or bad either way. Second question today comes from Biggest Joe, who says, hi guys, the Judgment Day change-up was really good. If WWE decide to separate the world titles, could you see Finn Balor take one? And can you see a tag team join? I think it'd be great to add a repackaged Viking Raiders and include Ciampa as well.
Viking Raiders is an interesting shout for that because they are really good and they are doing nothing with them. And I think the whole
down in NXT a while back, weren't
I
they?
think the whole Viking deal has definitely run its course. I think they definitely need a mix-up, a change-up. So that'd be really interesting. They've not put that much faith in Finn Balor for a long time, though, to put him with the main belt. Like, ever since, well, he had it once and then got injured, and then he's never had a sniff of it ever again. It wasn't his fault at all.
Happen.
And it was such an amazing moment. So I would love them to push Finn Balor. He's been there for ages now without getting the respect he's due.
Yeah.
So if this is a catalyst to get him leading a stable, maybe get him a bit more mic time, show what he can do on the mic, and maybe they'll get a bit more confidence in him as a champion again, I'd be all for that.
Really like the addition of Viking Raiders. Ciampa is a no-brainer for me. So if you're going to do that and not bring the Viking Raiders in, hell, put Ciampa with Damian Priest as a tag team, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess
I didn't know I wanted it until I said it, but I do.
That won't work for me. Like I said yesterday, Finn Balor needs someone to make himself look tall as well, so Ciampa's perfect for that.
Hey, you get less small, Finn. I'm torn on this because I really like the unified tag titles. We do not need.
Yes, we don't need 2 tag belts.
We could do with women's tag titles if you actually had a division for it.
And we could always stop having those stupid championship contender matches.
Anyway, we haven't got time. But I don't think that the unified world titles are that long for this world.
Yeah.
I think you've got your nice visual with Roman and the Usos with all the belts, but I think by Mania next year, for example, I think just purely from a business perspective, it's like one of the TV companies going to be like, hey, we're going to need a world champion on our program.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that Raw has exponentially improved since losing the men's world title.
This is true, and so with the tag titles, because they elevated them almost into that position,
Look at
which is the first
this
time ever.
But yes, if you're going to split the titles up, hell, give it to Balor.
100%.
If you're going to do a thing, don't do it supernatural. If you're going to do a stable, how about you let them dominate for a while, even if it's just for the weird gap, the dark period between SummerSlam and we're going to try again.
But it's still, they like to do a weird little summer push, so why not do it with us?
Hell. Just Punk, the summer, but rather than summer of Punk, the summer of just brooding. I'm not going to go outside.
Some dark stuff.
Okay, right. Rox Kid gives our final question of the day. Rox Kid writes, hello, King of the...
Oh, God.
Oh! Hello, King of the Mic.
When are you going to bring your new microphone in?
Oh.
Hey,
maybe Friday. Maybe Friday. That feels like the right time to introduce the new mic. Rox Kid writes, does anyone feel like WWE are doing Bianca versus Rhea too early? They're both great, but Bianca's reign hasn't been that long, to be honest. And if Rhea loses, then Judgment Day loses momentum. I say wait until Clash at the Castle. Have a great day. You have a great day, Rox Kid. What do you reckon? Too soon?
I don't think so, no. I think Bianca Belair needs new people. Obviously, this isn't new. There's history there. But there's plenty that you can play off within this feud.
Great match in
NXT
NXT
hasn't
as well.
really happened on the main roster yet. And I think, she needs new challenges, and I think Rhea Ripley's absolutely perfect for it. At least it's elevating Rhea Ripley way more than where she was before, when she was just doing kind of nothing in tag matches all the time.
Plus, I'm torn on this again because I'm kind of sick and tired of having them people challenge for titles, and you go, I know, immediately after someone wins a world title, say at WrestleMania, you're like, well, they're not losing that in their first defense. But I also don't need to sit there and go, well, I'm not going to buy any pin. I don't think, for example, that Natalya is going to beat Ronda Rousey.
Yes, not
so
for a second.
I think we talked about this before we came on air. Just book better. I get it. Think back to when you first fell in love with wrestling. Some of the parts that you really liked was the fact that you'd go into a match not knowing who's going to win and thinking that neither person can afford to lose. So how about you just pick one of them and back them? It's difficult because I really want Rhea to be world champion. I want this Finn Balor stable, the Judgment Day, whatever they're going to be called going forward, to be dominant. Yeah. Because that's what I want from my stables. Like you say, even if it's only briefly. But I also don't want to end Bianca Belair's reign, but that's the beauty of it. Maybe they are doing it too soon, but please God, don't drag it out over the summer to get us to Clash at the Castle to finally make a decision.
Yes.
Just pick one and stick with it.
Absolutely. And
book better.
Yeah.
Like, book it so that they can, fight. If Bianca Belair or Rhea Ripley loses, they're going to fight for something else that's important that's not a title or a man.
Yeah, some other storyline. This is a problem, but it's a problem of their own making. They can get around this. They've done it before.
You just don't need to do, a DQ, a count out, and some other bollocks to get us past SummerSlam, for example.
Yeah.
You did
Bollocks.
one good trilogy, WWE, recently, and the other stuff you did, where you were like, oh, this feud must continue. We were like, it doesn't though.
Does it have to?
Anyway, well, let us know your picks for those in the comment section below, and we'll move on to today's and finally. And I just wanted to share this image with you, the summer of Hookhausen with the boys, which makes me want to see some sort of like buddy movie where they go on a summer holiday somewhere.
Like the Hookhausen road trip. Kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like the vacation movies.
I mean,
but
it is
with
basically
Hookhausen.
Jay and Silent Bob because
It
one
is
of
a
them
little
doesn't
bit, yeah, that's
talk.
true.
But I don't know, on a mission to recover Hook's stolen crisps.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
I'm laughing, but I would 100% watch that.
But yeah, let us know your suggestions for the name for this wacky summer flick. Because I really liked, and also
Danhausen does curses.
The
Hook is broody. Can they get along?
the faces. When you pull a camera out, people pull certain faces. I'm guilty of it quite a lot, but he never smiles. What makes Hook happy other than crisps?
How is this as good as it is? This
weird, isn't
should
it?
not work
Yeah.
at all, but it absolutely does, and I'm all for it.
Right, anyway, let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. For daily wrestling podcasts, we're going to be reviewing NXT 2.0 and the arrival of Apollo Crews, and looking ahead to AEW Dynamite later on today as well. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Phil Chambers at
Fill my chambers, and you can follow Wilborn at
Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE, as I said. But for now, my thanks to Phil. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.